Here's a second problem for us to use to learn each of these methods. All right, let's begin by moving all the terms to the same side and arranging them in descending order. So I'm going to have 6x squared. When I add 11x to both sides, I'll have 11x here, and subtract 10 from both sides, minus 10 equals 0. Next, I want to factor. And this factors to be 2x plus 5 multiplied by 3x minus 2. Then we're going to set each piece equal to 0. So 2x plus 5 equals 0. And 3x minus 2 equal to 0. Solve each mini equation. So we will subtract 5 and divide by 2, which is negative 5 over 2. And here, add 2 and divide by 3, giving us 2/3. Here are solutions to this quadratic. If I were to substitute negative 5 over 2 in for x, the left side would equal the right side, and the same is true for 2/3. Next, we're going to use the quadratic formula. And remember, when using the quadratic formula, we want to make sure that our equation is in ax squared plus bx plus c form. So we've got that form already written here, and we want to identify a, b, and c. So in this equation, our a would be 6, our b is going to equal 11, and our c will be negative 10. Substituting those values into the quadratic formula, x equals negative b, so a negative 11 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So 2 times 6. Then I need to begin simplifying. So I have negative 11 plus or minus the square root of 11 times 11 is 121. Negative 6 multiplied by positive 6 multiplied by negative 10 is going to be 240. All over 2 times 6 is 12. I do 2 steps at once here. 121 plus 240 is 361. And the square root of 361 is 19. All right, the plus or minus means we really have 2 separate problems. So we need to solve negative 11 plus 19 over 2 and negative 11 minus 19 over 2. Negative 11 plus 19 is 8 over, these are 12s, my bad, bringing that 12 over 12, and then 4 fits into 8 twice, and 4 fits into 12 3 times, and we have 2/3. And then here we have negative 11 minus 19, which is negative 30. And then from there, we have more than just 2 in common. We also have 6 6 in common, so 6 fits into both of those. So we get negative 5 over 2. All right, so notice that so far, using the zero property and using the quadratic formula, we got the same answers. Next, we're going to look at the same problem, but we're going to use our graphing calculator. To use the graphing calculator method to solve 6x squared equals 10 minus 11x, you want to begin by moving all of the terms to the same side equal to 0 and then replace the 0 with y. Next, we're going to head over to Desmos.com so that we can graph this equation. Using the keypad in the bottom left-hand corner, I entered the equation y equals 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. You can adjust the look of the graph by going to the wrench in the top right-hand corner. I had selected projector mode, and then you can also change the bounds of the x-axis and the y-axis so that you can see all of the parabola. The step feature just tells you how much you're counting by. We need the x-intercepts to determine the answer to our original equation, so I'm going to click on the parabola where the parabola crosses the x-axis. When I do that, some gray dots are going to appear. Next, I will click on each gray dot, and as I do that, they will turn black, and then the decimal versions of the x-intercepts will pop up. The solution to the equation using the graphing method is x equals negative 2.5 and x equals 0.667. Let's now compare the solutions that we got using the graphing method to the solutions that we got using the zero property and the quadratic equation. The solutions do look a bit different. However, x equals negative 2.5 and x equals negative 5/2 are equivalent. They are exactly the same. Negative 5 divided by 2 is negative 2.5. As for the solution 0.667, that is not equivalent to 2/3. It is very close, but not exactly the same. If you were to take the rational number 2/3 and take 2 divided by 3, you would get 0.6 repeating. 0.667 is a rounded version of that, in other words, an estimate. If the directions for solving this quadratic equation stated find the exact value, the solution 0.667 would not be acceptable. Only the solution 2/3 would be the exact value. In the case of negative 2.5 versus negative 5/2, either one of those would be fine since they're exactly the same. Because the graphing calculator method is so fast, some students still decide to go with this method in this case, provided they can recognize 0.667 as the fraction 2/3 and write the answer 2/3 for their final answer.